On the morning of the 16th, we packed up and left for Alexandria, marched out and encamped near Cloud's Mill. Tuesday, the regiment marched towards Fairfax, and as I was sick on Monday, the captain would not allow me to go. But today, on the 21st, the guns are still firing at Bull's Run in the direction of Manassas Gap. Today, many a soldier will lay low. The firing has been going for 2 hours now. The 4th Regiment has been left at Fairfax Station and Courthouse. Ere another Sunday, there will be weeping in many a house. Yesterday, many soldiers sent home his last letter. Many letters will be written with "Write us as soon as you get this," which will never be answered. All day long we've listened to the guns. It's one of the fairest of summer Sabbath days. The morning found the Federal Army retreating in confusion and defeated. We struck tents and returned to Alexandria in the rain. All is in confusion. Men, baggage, wagons, everything coming in all day long, and the wounded are arriving as best they can. The loss is great and the confusion greater. Oh, to be sick here, what a pain. How weak one is. And all the boys are yelling and swearing as usual, and one hears everything. Never give me opium again. For 2 days and nights now, I lay in a fever with my head bathed with cold water, and what suffering. I've not been sick for so long in a time, and I feel it very hard. On the morning of the 8th, we packed up and started for Virginia, assigned to W.T. Sherman's brigade. I was still very weak from the sickness and the opium. The regiment left, and I expected to ride, but found the wagons too close and hot, so I started on foot, and with an occasional nip of whiskey and long rests, I got there. We crossed a ferry at Georgetown below the aqueduct and up the hills by a very rough path. We pitched tents 2½ miles from the river at Camp Union. I walked some 5 miles in all and gained a little appetite, so I ate some potatoes at a house, and with the exertion found myself decidedly better the next morning. We moved to Miners Hill, and in our front is a valley, while beyond lies a range of hills on whose eastern slope are farmhouses and openings occupied by Union and rebel pickets. For the past few days I've been sick enough, but not unable to do my duty. While on guard, Dr. Clark told me I have the disease of the liver and that I must quit my duty and report to him. I don't feel well at all, but I stayed on guard all night. On the 31st, we mustered for pay, and after muster I am ordered to report with 6 men to General Porter, and by him to report to the Columbia Armory in Washington to Professor Thaddeus Lowe, an aeronaut. By November, I was on duty at the Columbia Armory as part of the Balloon Corps. I'm lonely, homesick almost. We left Washington Armory for the Navy Yard to go to the river and slept last night with the Marines and sailors when we got there. With balloon, aeronauts, and reporters, we started about 11 a.m. down the river. We saw a man-of-war lying opposite Alexandria and then ran in close to Fort Washington and Mattawoman Creek. After dark, we went with Mr. Slack, a Herald reporter, to General Hooker's headquarters. The mud is very deep and the road very indefinite. We delivered our dispatch and returned, and then on the 12th the balloon made 4 ascensions, and General Sickles went up twice. At about 4 o'clock we went to shore, and the general and staff shared our coffee, hardtack, and salt pork. Mr. Bentley of the Philadelphia Inquirer is with us, and also one of Frank Leslie's artists. We started with a balloon to run the blockade of the Potomac, in storm and sleet and darkness. We ran into a steamer going from the Navy Yard and heard them beat to quarters and stopped at Fort Washington. We ran by the 3 batteries in the night with all the lights well covered. We stopped at Mattawoman Creek and ran down to Chickahominy at night. The next morning the rebels commenced firing shell at the balloon barge and the balloon on shore, but do not hit it. Professor Lowe telegraphs for us to return to Washington, so we rode up to Mattawoman Creek. We slept on the deck of a stern-wheel excursion boat in a storm of wind and rain. In Washington, we found a spot for camp, well sheltered from the wind, and we have a detail of Massachusetts sharpshooters with us. On New Year's Day, I made an ascension with Mr. Seaver some 300 feet in the morning. Not power enough in the balloon to carry us higher. I made some drawings of the inflating apparatus used by Professor Lowe while we were there, and on the 10th I met with Aeronaut John LaMountain. After a sleepless night, we started for Fredericksburg with a train of about 12 wagons and 20 men to keep the balloon tank from upsetting, as the roads were very bad. We reported to General McDowell's headquarters at the Lacey House, and this is where Washington cut the cherry tree. It's one of the fine old mansions, brick brought from England, trees in the yard, and in the ravines on each side of the house are fine springs. It sure has a fine view of the old town of Fredericksburg, the pontoon bridge, rubber boats filled with air, and also a bridge of canal boats. Though I didn't know it at the time, this would be one of my last ascents in the balloon, as I was soon to be commissioned a lieutenant. On June the 13th, the regiment went into picket at Newbridge on the Chickahominy with rebel cavalry in the rear. It's a very smoky and warm place, and the mosquitoes make it not very favorable to sleep. We found 8 dead rebels in the river here, and members of Company K divided up a rebel jawbone to send the teeth home to the rural districts. I returned home from picket duty in a rain shower. If you'd like to learn more about Lieutenant Bancroft and the 4th Michigan Infantry, stay tuned, as next week we will continue to follow along as they storm Malvern Hill, fight through the Battle of Antietam, and see the northern lights over Fredericksburg. If you enjoyed today's video and would like to see more content like this, be sure to take a shot at the like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest BirdDogg content. If you'd like to support the channel, for a limited time there's exclusive Civil War Diaries merchandise available in the video link below.